Hey, hey. Hello. Oop, calendar. Wrong thing. Hello, everyone. Shoot. Yeah, we are back. Hey, Tufts House, Tilted 7 here. Hello. You know the drill. You know the drill. Mic check, audio check, check. How do we look? How do we sound? No, Toasty House is here. Tilted 7 is here. Yes, good to see you. Yes, good to see it. Say Snoozer Kyle. Yeah, this is the good stuff. This is it, really good stuff. Okay, Kevin. Hello. We're back. Yeah, this has been a weird week because it feels like a vacation, and it also feels like it doesn't as well. We get a lot of work done because we had a holiday with Veterans Day. Hello, everyone. Yes, good to be back. I'm Ming Chow, teaching professor at Tufts University. This is Introduction to Security. Okay, before we start, before we do anything, we're going to play a game here. We're going to play a game. And that is, we only have today, next week, and the week after Thanksgiving. That's it. We're done. We're done. Um, Today is going to be malware. Next week is going to be forensics and incident handling. And then after Thanksgiving is, where do you go from here? What professional development options do you have? What are the free stuff out there? What are the expensive stuff? But before we begin today, gotta ask this question. We're gonna play a game. I think we're, yeah, uh, at least way over a handful of episodes in. We're almost done with the course. Name one thing that you've learned. The one thing. Name one thing that you've learned in this class. Pick the one thing that comes to mind. It could be anything. One thing that you have learned. All I need is one. Not two, one. Yeah, clear the screen. One thing. What's the one thing that you've learned? Any one password can be cracked with time. That's one. What else? Come on. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. One thing that you've learned so far from this entire semester, from this season, could be anything. No matter how big, no matter how small it is. Usually the big ones, the small ones, it's really big ones. Yeah, analyzing web traffic. Okay, Wireshark. Don't use HTTP. You know what's crazy? Without getting into too many details, so if you think this is going to be the last time you're going to use Wireshark or you're going to see HTTP, boy, are you wrong. No, this is not the last time you're going to see Wireshark. In fact, you may see it much quicker sooner than you think. So there's Wireshark. There's don't use HTTP. Oh, this is an interesting one. Kelsey House said always use the secure versions of all software. That's a very interesting one because that may actually rear its ugly because not using the most latest and patched version of a piece of software may rear its ugly head later on today. What else? These are some like kick-ass ones. These are some really good ones. I mean, you have password cracking. You have packet analysis with Wireshark. You have don't use HTTP. You have using secure version. What else? Come on, keep them coming. Keep them coming. What else have you learned? Come on, what else? All right, play another one. If you already played, you can play another one. No matter how big and small, no matter how big or small, what have you learned in this course? These are some good ones already. Don't use HTTP. Actually, I think, what was it? Google Chrome HTTP. I think they're really putting a kibosh on HTTP. Yeah, this was the old one. Yeah, but I thought they did that already. Okay. How important it is to sanitize user input, just not just, yeah, not just when it's being used in SQL queries. Yeah, sanitizing user input, huge, huge. Also, on a little bit of a side note here, I think one of the previous episodes we talked about OAuth Top 10. I know I've talked about OAuth Top 10, and the newest OAuth Top 10 list is going to be coming out like soon. So I found out today that there's going to be an offensive security workshop at Tufts next week, and it will actually talk about OAuth Top 10, the 2025 version. Yeah. What else? What else have you learned in this course? What else? I'm gonna have to play this game a couple of times for the remainder of the semester. Like, what else have you learned? Password cracking. Yep. Wireshark. Yep. Don't use HTTP. Okay. You can also say don't use FTP as well too. Sanitizing user input. What else? Don't hard code passwords. Yep, don't hard code password. I'm gonna throw one out there. Static and dynamic analysis that we've learned last week. Um, so I guess we can stop there for, I mean, we can play this game for hours. All the little things that you've learned in this course. And the reason why I've asked you this question of tell me something that you've learned in this course. The reason why I asked you this question is, what if I told you that everything that everyone has said so far, the Wireshark, using secure versions of software, I just said static and analysis, static and dynamic analysis, password cracking, everything all leads to one last topic, which is malware. Malware is a topic that is still extremely relevant today. Extremely relevant. Malware is still a huge issue. Think ransomware. And to really do malware and to understand malware, do malware analysis or understand malware, you have to have a grasp of all those topics that we've learned so far in this course. Static and dynamic analysis. Don't use HTTP or FTP or lack thereof. Lots of malware operators and malware sites still use FTP. Password and password cracking to break into servers automagically, without any user intervention. That's still a thing. Oh, sniffing and scanning, absolutely used for basic malware. Next week, we're going to actually look at malware in traffic, in network traffic. Sanitizing user input or lack thereof, vulnerabilities, malware takes advantage of them. The biggest one these days, I'm sure you've all heard of, is ransomware. So everything that you have learned so far in this course leads to one final topic, which is malware. The way to understand malware, it's like everything that you've learned makes it a lot more tolerable. If malware was a final topic in this course, then it's like, what? It's like you have no idea what's going on. There is no, it's like, for this malware topic, you're really gonna like. Because a lot of the stuff that you're gonna see is a review of everything that you've done so far. Remember something called ports? IP address and ports? Using Netcat? Yeah, you're gonna see that again. But we're gonna do hands-on demo of malware. Yeah, we're gonna actually see real you're gonna see real malware today. real malicious software. But before we begin, um, the most important thing that we got to do is to understand terminology. Can I blow this up? Yes, I can. You know what? Because I know my head is like gonna cut off the left column, but that's fine. The most important thing to understand about malware is the basic definitions. Now, malware is still relevant, but there's a lot of misconceptions. One of the biggest misconceptions is the different types of malwares and people using terms interchangeably, namely when it comes to virus and worms. Okay? And we're going to clarify that today. The other thing that we're going to also learn today is that if you're using antivirus, it's generally bullshit. Antivirus and anti-malware software, with the exception of Windows Defender, most of the other stuff is in bullshit. I have not run antivirus in almost 2 decades. It is also one of the most vulnerable piece of garbage software in the world. If anyone's using Norton utility, like Norton antivirus, they use it to mine cryptocurrency these days. Yeah, I kid you not. Yeah. So, all right, let's get to some basic definition first. Malware is a combination of two words: malicious software. Malware is malicious software, bad software, software that does bad things, bad intents all around. Almost nothing good. Now, here's a way I like to explain malware to people. Like, the idea of malware is no different than organized crime. There are many different types of um, organized crime groups. Some people would like to use the word families. It's the same idea that you use to explain malware. Have anyone ever played Grand Theft Auto before? Anyone ever, if you ever played Grand Theft Auto, a quintessential part of it, like some of the older versions of the game, have drug trading. And certain families and certain tribes are specialized in certain types of drugs in the game. Like if one of my favorite games of all time is Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. I can only play the eagle eye kind of game, like the top down version, not the shooting one, like Grand Theft Auto 6, which by the way will be coming out. Got delayed. I can't play that stuff because I will be like I have severe motion sickness. But different families, different tribes specialize in different types of drugs. Okay? Malware is the same thing. There are many different types of families of malwares, and they do different things. For example, like viruses are different than worms, are different than backdoors, are different than ransomwares. Alright. Today, the ones that we're going to see, like with our own eyes, are going to be a virus backdoor. We're going to see a virus. We're going to see a backdoor. We're going to see maybe a Trojan horse. We're going to see at least one, two, three types of malware. We're actually going to do them out as well. Now, a zombie is an infected or compromised computer. Remember what a computer is. It could be a dishwasher. It could be a microwave. It could be a thermostat now. So, zombie is a computing device that's infected with malware. Sadly, that is quite normal these days. This also includes ransomware. A botnet is a network of infected computers. A very good example is there's a huge botnet of computers that have been infected with certain strands of ransomware. A lot of them have already been shut down, like, certain types of ransomware. Um, Sometimes, most of the times, that all the sensitive files have already been locked down. There's been also some cases where these infected machines are also used to perform like distributed denial of service attacks, which we've learned much earlier in the course. So a botnet is a whole network of infected machines. A bot master or a bot herder is an attacker who controls the botnet. CNC, command and control, is an infrastructure of servers, services, software to control the malware in the botnet. So this is like the big thing these days that happens, like, in security is lots of infected computers. There's lots of masters out there, lots of CNC systems out there. Yeah. So these are some of the basic terminologies when it comes to malware. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at we're going to go through, we're going to see a virus, going to see a backdoor, and we're also going to see perhaps a Trojan horse. Definition wise, we're going to go through a virus, a worm, a backdoor, a Trojan horse. Okay, so let's start off with a virus first. Okay, well, we're going to do, let me see how I want to play this game. I want to actually try to play this game, and I'm going to do wrong answers only. All right. A computer virus is no different than a biological virus. What's the most famous biological virus out there? Wrong answers only. In other words, we're going to try to not talk about that virus. So, how does a biological virus work? Also, give me an example of a biological virus. And don't say the C word. That virus. Come on. Oh, okay. Ebola, spread by way of bodily fluids. Okay, so that sentence right there. Spread by way of bodily fluids. There is some contact there. Okay? Give me another example of a virus, a biological virus. Can anyone start to generalize a pattern here? Please don't say the C word. And you know what I'm talking about. So J.L. Spivak said Ebola spread by way of bodily fluids. Spread by way of bodily fluids. Does anyone can generalize the pattern? Okay, I'm not going to mention the C word. What about flu? That's not a C word. How does that work? How does the flu work? Well, how does a cold work? Ah, okay. So that's a C word, but not the one I'm with, or not the one where viruses hijack the human body. Okay, yep, okay. They do something. A virus does something. But how does a cold or a flu work? Again, we didn't say that other virus. We don't want to talk about that other virus because we've all been through that mess. No one wants to think about that mess again. Anyone gotten sick recently? I think I have. I think I have gotten sick like a while ago, and it's usually because of like little children or children. Come on, how's the cold, the flu, right? Sneeze on someone, cough on someone. That to do some way of spreading. So what what J.L. Spivak said, Ebola spread by way of bodily fluid. There gotta be a way of spreading. There also gotta be a way of contact as well too. There gotta be some contact that has to happen, and that is exactly how a computer virus actually works. Think of a biological virus. It works on the idea of propagation and piggybacking. Okay, so, in order to a virus to actually work, well, it has to, some action has to happen to trigger the spreading, like, double clicking on a file, sending a file, you name it. And then it does some piggybacking. Now, a computer virus can be anything. It could be an executable, a script, a Microsoft Excel document. List goes on. The other thing is that viruses do not reinfect already infected files. A very good example is when you already have a cold, like when you are currently battling a cold and someone actually give you like cough on, like I already have a cold and try to spread it to you, you can't get the cold twice. Okay? So, right now, what I want to do is we're actually going to show you how a virus works. Okay? Now, this is a harmless virus here. So, here I am, I'm on Kali Linux, and I have a folder of malware. Yeah, this is a folder of malware. I do collect malware samples. I do collect a lot of malware samples. Why? Because for, my own intrigue and for analysis purposes. The virus that we are going to actually look at today is something called the foo virus. So there's a folder called the foo virus. Oh, I actually have a copy of this on GitHub. Let me give you the link. Foo virus. This is an old virus. Still works. 37 lines of code. Yeah. So this is a real virus. It is completely harmless. Completely harmless virus. Doesn't do any damage, but it really proves the point. What a virus is, what a virus does. So just to look at it more clearly, so this virus was written in a programming language called Perl. Perl used to be the stuff, very much like Python is right now. Perl is a programming language that was developed for largely system administrators. Um, TLDR, syntactically, Perl is no different than Voodoo. It is the easiest. It is really the easiest language to write spaghetti code. It's such a good language to write spaghetti code and shit that you don't even understand. It's actually was modeled after C, but after so long, it just like, nah, it's more like Voodoo. I have not worked with Perl for over a decade. Perl used to be my jam to write web application. Nah, not anymore. So this is a 37 lines of code that is a virus, but it's a self-replicating program. What it does is going to, if you run this virus, it will infect all files with names ending in .foo in a directory when you execute an infected file. Now, if you send this same infected file to someone else and they execute it, their .foo files will also be damaged as well. In terms of the payload, like the damage that is done, it's only going to just, one, print out a big message, and two, just plop on the code to, on top of, I'll show you. Alright. Now here. So here I'm going to have foo virus. I'm going to do v Tufts house. I'm going to create a file called tuftshouse.foo. So now I got two files here. I'm going to do a 3-line code. Yes. Vim. Yeah, I'm going to say okay. So here we are. We have now a .foo file, another .foo file, another .foo file, three .foo files, one .pl file. I'm going to do one more file. Alright, so here we go. This is good. I'm going to clear the screen. Now you can see I just created 4.foo files and 1.bar file. There's a foovirus.pl file at the very top. So far, so good? So far, so good. Okay. So far, so good. Now, I want you to all take a look. Take a visual snapshot. Take a visual snapshot of this terminal. Visual snapshot. Notice the file permissions. Notice the file sizes. Also, maybe even notice the color. Font colors. It's white. Notice the timestamps. Take a visual snapshot. Now I'm going to do a more foovirus.pl. I'm not going to run it just yet. Written by Professor Avikaka Purdue back in 2006. This thing still works even up to this day. You see a whole bunch of print statements. That's a lot of print statements. That shows you what the virus is. Again, you remember, this is 37 lines of code. Oops. 37 lines of code. So how this virus works is this. It's going to take a loop from 0 to 37. And it's just going to read all the 37 lines of code in itself. Virus dot equals is going to take reading all 37 lines of code. Then what it's going to do is, I'm going to say it in plain language, for each of my file glob.foo. So it's going to look for all the .foo files in your current working directory. What then it's going to do is just going to read them all in. For each .foo file, read in all the contents. Okay. Then it's going to plop in the virus code, all 37 lines. Change the file permission of the file to 7777, which is read, write, execute by everyone in the world. Alright. Plop up write everything in the file. Yeah. Comment out all the existing stuff that I just typed in all the .foo files. The second to last line of the code, the third to last line of the code. Can't comment everything out, then close the file. Alright, one more time. Visual snapshot. Now I'm going to run foovirus.pl. So I'm going to execute foovirus.pl. Watch what happens. That's it. Hello from foovirus. Prints out this beautiful message. Now I'm going to do an ls-l again, and notice what happens. Remember I told you to take a visual snapshot? What has changed? Well, I can tell you a few changes. First of all the .foo files, look at the file permission, all 7777. The second thing is the file size of all the .foo files went way the hell up. And third, if you actually want an even more visual indicator, look at all the .foo files. It's now in green, which looks like it's actually an executable file. The only file that actually did not get modified is Funky Monkey. More Funky Monkey.bar, and there it is. But let's take a look at Loopsy Remember loopsy.foo? It only had one word in there, it was daisy. So now if you took a look at loopsy.foo, loopsy got infected with the virus. Now loopsy.foo has all the virus code, all 37 lines of it, and daisy got commented out. So I better take a look at kevincoveney.foo. Take a look at this. Same thing. Kevin got infected with the virus. First 37 lines is the virus code, and then every subsequent line gets commented out. The ho 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 got all commented out. Let's go to, well, you get the pattern here. Towsiehouse.foo. Bang. Towsiehouse is got all 37 lines of the virus plopped in, the first 37 line, and boo bleep got commented out. Okay. So now what I am going to do is I'm going to add in a new .foo file, which is tilted7.foo. Oh, I'm going to do a vim. So now you take a look. I just created tilted7.foo. Just created it moments ago. However, this time, what I am going to do is not going to run foovirus.pl, but I am going to run one of the infected.foo files. I'm just going to run towsiehouse.foo. So I'm going to do /towsiehouse.foo. Notice what happens now. Now you notice that tilted7 is a .foo file, but it hasn't been infected yet. Towsiehouse, loopsy, Kevin, jlspvac.foo all have been infected. Tilted7 has not been infected yet. But now watch what happens when I run towsiehouse.foo. Same behavior as when I run foovirus.pl. Hello from the foo virus. This is a demonstration how easy it is to write a self-replicating program. This virus will infect all the files with the name ending in .foo in the directory in which you will execute an infected file. Okay? Now if I clear the screen and I do an ls-l, you notice, same behavior. funkymonkey.bar has not been infected because it's not a .foo file. However, this time, tilted7 has been infected. Tilted7, the file size ballooned up, is now, file permission is 7777. And, yeah, and it's also green color font. So if I do a more tilted7.foo this time, now tilted7 got the malware code, the first 37 lines, and then that text got commented out. But remember how I also gave you another fine line? A virus will not infect an already infected virus. So if I take a look at loopsy.foo. Now loopsy, Kevin, jlspvac, and towsiehouse were infected the first time around. But if I do more, kevincoveney.foo, he's not going to get reinfected again. Okay? So if I do my history, what was the one who did I run? I ran towsiehouse.foo. So after running towsiehouse.foo, after being infected, the already infected .foo files like jlspvac.foo does not get oh no. ALO. No, it doesn't get reinfected. So you're not going to have 37 plus 37 is 74 lines of code. No. There you go. So they only get infected one time. But you can see the behavior of a virus now. Okay, in order for a virus to work and to replicate, there needs to be some sort of action, such as double clicking on the file and running it. It's like that's the most easiest way to spread a virus is there gotta be some that's the propagation. The way that a malware that a virus spread, there has to be some action. Usually is usually there has to be some action like user contained. Like double clicking on a file, clicking a link or something. Alright, the behavior can be anything. So now you definitely saw the piggybacking. Like the malware code was plopped into all the .foo file, and the spreading was done. And you saw that as well. There's some trigger event, replicate. Okay, so remember, a virus has to have some action. On the other hand, it's also you may have heard of something called a worm. Now, a worm does not need to attach itself to another file. A worm is all works on its own. A worm spreads on its own. There doesn't need to be some double clicking. What? Yeah. Then that is the biggest difference between a worm and a virus. A virus, there needs to be some action, like double clicking on a file. A worm doesn't need to do any of that. A worm just spreads on its own. Wait, how does a worm spread on its own? The answer is, believe it or not, you probably have all done this before. Somehow, probably accidentally. Anyone ever heard of something called an infinite loop before? Or, just go and scan for other computers on a current system? That can be done pretty easily. Okay? So worms infect a network. Alright? So a worm requires networking for sure. So a worm hops from computer to computer to computer to computer. Well, you already have done stuff like that. Anyone have heard of something called RSH, which is the insecure version of SSH? Password cracking, using sockets. So the dumbest thing that you can do if you want to write a worm is just write a loop that goes to every single IP address. All right, that really what you can do is just do an infinite loop or something that go from like machine to machine. But traditionally how worms hop from machine to machine is by using things remote commands like RSH, SSH, password cracking, and using sockets. Things that you already have done. Um, Techniques, you also have used this. I mean, worms typically they do scan for IPv4 addresses, selecting random IPv4 addresses, sending small packets, connecting to vulnerable network services to exploit vulnerabilities. Network services that are ready to have no password, or network services that have weak password, and opening up a shell. The most famous worm, and by the way, a happy belated birthday. What is it? 35 years? Like almost what? Oh my God, I can't do the math. Um, it was a birthday, a very special birthday, recently. The Morris worm. So Robert Tappan Morris. In November 1990 and 1988 was a PhD student at Cornell, wrote 99 lines of code, tried to connect to another computer to find vulnerabilities with Finger Deep. There was also another vulnerability with SendMail or something. Did some password cracking. But inadvertently, this 99 lines of code would, repeat these actions in an infinite loop. Um, by way of basic password cracking, it was able to break into users' account, harvest address on remote machine from .rhost files. At that time, it cost 10 to 100 million. I mean, that the range is like everyone gives different numbers, but it wasn't the millions and millions of dollars. Over 5,000 Unix machines affected. And it was the first conviction under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Um, so there's a happy ending to this story, is that Rob Morris is now a professor at MIT. Robert Morris also founded a company called BioWeb with, I think you might know the person, Paul Graham, and basically was one of the founders of something called Y Combinator. So it was a happy ending. Yeah, Rob Morris is a professor at MIT. Yes, he's still there down the street, but I am not entirely sure if this is a topic that you want to bring up. This is one of those stories and memories that everyone has, like certain things that they don't want to talk about. I don't think this is one of one of them. Okay. The ye good old days of worms was Microsoft in 2001, and I like to give these two examples out. Um, right now, Microsoft is one of the they take cybersecurity very seriously. But one of the reasons why that I showcase these next two um, incidents with worms is, well, there's a reason why people still think Microsoft doesn't treat security seriously. And these are some like really like memories that and cases that are still etched in like people mind. Like I grew up in this time, and like from 1998 to like 2002, Microsoft didn't care. They basically didn't care about security. And so that's why, like, even up to this day, like, no matter what they do, I've always have a bad impression of Microsoft and what they do for security. But here's another one, Code Red. There was a bug in Microsoft IIS, which is Microsoft Web Server, to it was MS0133. How it worked is really simple. Go for random IP addresses on the internet that are running Microsoft IIS, first 19 days of the attack, deface the website with the statement hacked by the Chinese, and then many days later, do a denial of service attack. And the second wave actually hit like 360,000 servers in 14 hours. I was a junior in college and I still remember this mess. A few years later, there was a slammer worm. Again, another random scanning worm. No user interaction necessary. It's just a program that just hit any IP address with, and then just the odds of hitting a machine that was running Microsoft IIS web server hit 10 within 10 minutes. 75,000 hosts infected in 1/2 hour. Exploit a buffer overflow bug in Microsoft SQL Server. Like for years, like this was like the story years and years, from like 1998 to 2002, 2003, around that time. I mean, worms were like the thing. Why? Microsoft didn't care about security. And then around this time was like Bill Gates was still the CEO, and it was sent a letter to the entire company. It's like, you know what? Now we're just getting a black eye. Like no one's treating us seriously anymore because we don't treat security seriously anymore. This is what really started like their huge investment into cybersecurity. Okay, so a Trojan horse is this. Uh, Anyone ever download pirated software before? We all have. Okay, so here's a really good example. What was the hottest game? For what was it? Let me give you some examples of a hot game. Um, Fortnite. What's another one? Fortnite's a big one. Among Us was a big one recently. But does anyone remember? Now, we're not going to rat out anyone. Did anyone remember downloading a software that you don't want to pay for? So, I'll give you an example. Back in the days when we were in college, like, no one was going to, like, no, like, people didn't want to put, like, a CD-ROM to play a game. Very good examples of Roller Coaster Tycoon and Diablo. So back in the days, now you download games and that's it, and it gets updated all the time. But back in the days, to prevent like people from pirating like games, like companies said, you know what? To quote unquote prove that you really bought the game and you play it on your PC, you had to put the CD-ROM into your computer. But that's a pain in the ass, though. So what we usually do was we would look for something called no CD cracks that you can play a game without putting a CD into the CD-ROM. And the problem is, like, you download those, like, quote unquote, no CD crack software from, like, sketchy websites. And these sketchy websites, well, what you're really downloading is an application that will play the game without a CD, but it also have other shit in there as well, too. You mean like cracked crazy? Yeah, okay. Cracked Windows, huge thing. Okay? Yeah, it's like cracked Windows. Yeah, huge thing. Crazy all that Microsoft did with wallpaper. Yeah. Okay, that's another good example. Um, you know what's gonna? I'm gonna tell you another really good example that is sure gonna happen. There are gonna be people who are gonna be that are just not gonna want to pay for Grand Theft Auto 6. They're gonna go and download go to some website to download like a version of like gonna grant quote unquote download like a version of Grand Theft Auto 6, all 100 gigabytes of it. They're gonna install that on their computer, but what they're really getting is not just Grand Theft Auto 6, but like spyware, like, a keylogger and anything. That's what a Trojan horse is. Okay? You're thinking that you're downloading a useful program, a program that you want, but underneath the hood is going to be so much shit and so much crap that, basically it's going to be looking at like you're going to be monitoring your computer. So it's very much like the story of the Trojan horse. What was the story of the Trojan horse? It was a gift that was, what was it? The story of the Trojan horse. It was a gift. Yeah, Greek mythology was a wooden horse that had been used by the Greeks to enter the city of Troy. Okay? So it was a gift that was given. It was not mentioned in Homer? Okay. So it's really a trick. And this stuff is still so common these days. Another really good example is if you have Android. If you have Android phone, you download an app that looks like a bank, like your online look like an app for online banking. But what the app is an app that actually steals your bank account information. Not good. So that's what a Trojan horse is. Okay, this is my favorite. My all-time favorite malware is a backdoor. Now a backdoor is deadly as hell. A backdoor is a backdoor. It bypasses not only all authentication, but all security mechanisms that are built into a system. It just opens up a backdoor to your computer, opens up an avenue to your computer, bypasses all authentication, and all you need, like an attacker needs to do, is to connect to your computer, remote access by way of IP address and port number. That's it. Okay? Well, I don't know where the asterisk is. I don't want to know. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of a backdoor. And one of my all-time favorite software of all time is Teeny. Okay, Teeny is one of my favorite software of all time because it's Teeny. So I'm going to go to archive.org. The website does not exist anymore, but amazingly enough, you can still download the backdoor software. Hello? Enter in the URL. This is the stuff. I'm going to go to the 2015 site. Like, this was a publicly available backdoor for years. Here it is. It's loading up. I'm going to make a copy of this. Okay, you're going to like this. Now, this is now the start of real malware. Okay? I'm gonna do, like, this is the start of using real malware. This is the first one we're gonna see. We're gonna do another one too next. Here it is. This is a very simple and very small backdoor for Windows, coded in assembly. It listens at TCP port 7777 and gives anyone who connects a remote command prompt. There you go. It's small. It listens on port 7777, something that I've used and said all this semester. Just give a connection. How you actually run this is simple. It has to be on Windows. It's for Windows systems only. Doesn't matter if it's Windows 95, Windows 10, Windows 11, it doesn't matter. Download the file, rename it from a .dat to .exe and run it. And just using your favorite piece of software like Telnet or Netcat, just hit the IP address, space, port 7777, blammo, and that's it. Oh, there is one caveat. I can connect to port 7777, but nothing happened. What's wrong? You actually have to press enter once to get the prompt. If that doesn't help, you can still, believe it or not, you can still download it. So I'm going to hit download here. Oh, no. No. Actually, hold on. Can I go for an older version? Use this one, the 2007 version. Yeah, look at that. 2007 version, I can still download Teeny. I'm going to save it to my desktop, and notice what's going to happen. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of web browsers now does have a list that that checks if a download is malicious or not. Here's his dangerous download blocked. I am going to say I don't care. I'm going to download it again. How do I fix it? Make sure, okay. So I'm going to download it. I'm going to right click on it. I got a full download history. Download the dangerous file. And there it is. Teeny.exe is on my desktop. Okay. Now, I don't have a Windows machine in front these days. I got a video. But before we do that, I want to show you. Now we've downloaded a file. We've downloaded a file, teeny.exe. This is something new for everyone here. Whenever you download a file and anything that you may consider suspicious or not, one of the first things that you should always do is to send it to a website called VirusTotal. I want to introduce you to virustotal.com. Go to virustotal.com. Okay, I'm going to send you the 2007 link right now. virustotal.com. Alright, so virustotal.com. VirusTotal has been around for a while. It's now owned by Google. VirusTotal, what it does is to analyze, all you need to do is, VirusTotal analyze files, domains, IP addresses. Hey Draghetto, how are ya? How are you? Okay, so all you need to do, how you use VirusTotal, is really simple. Either drag and drop the file here, or you just go to choose file, go to my desktop, upload. That's how you use VirusTotal. Okay, there is a file size limit though. Back in the ye good old days, it was like 100 megabyte, 64 megabyte input. max. Now it's a lot bigger than that. So for years, when I was doing Wall of Sheep, I was saving my PCAP files as 64 megabyte increments because that was what virus total max was. Now it's like a couple hundred. I'll go back to it. But once you upload a file, you're going to get a result screen from virus total. Take a look. Here we are. 64 out of 71 security vendors flagged this file as malicious. Take a look at that. The first thing that you should notice is, of course, the score on the upper right, on the upper left corner. 64 out of 71. That's no bueno. Not good at all. You can see the file size is 3 kilobyte. Last analyzed 13 days ago. Looks like this is a Trojan. They call this a Trojan. A popular label is called Trojan.tiny. Oh, we just did Trojan horse. And here are all the security vendors, and this is what they all labeled it as. Not bad. Teeny has been around for years, for decades, so anyone who does not flag this is like there's almost no excuse. So actually, who hasn't flagged this? I have never heard of these security vendors before. They did not flag this as malware. But a strong majority, detected Teeny.exe as malware. 64 out of 71. That's an extremely high number. But now you can also drill down and see more information. Go to the Details tab. You see detection, now you see details. You can see all the basic properties of the malware. You can see the MD5, SHA-1, SHA-256 of the malware. The file size. The history. The creation time. File first time, first submission, last analysis. So you can see Teeny has been around for a very long time. Soon to be 3 decades. People have uploaded Teeny.exe as many different names. Teeny.exe, TikTok.exe. Nice one. You can see this is a portable this is a Windows file and a portable executable file with all the information. Imports, what libraries it's using, kernel32.dll, winsock32.dll. Any relationships to any IP addresses or domains. This is weird. I didn't know that. Maybe this is like for where, like what website was actually sending out the exe file. Behaviors. What did the community say? What do people say? Go back to details. Did I miss anything? No, I didn't. So this is real malware. This is real malware. Virus total, said 64 out of 71. That's a high number. So now, want to see how this backdoor actually works. And I got a video of this. Okay, so here I am. I have a Mac. This is a video. This is I made this a few years ago. I have an environment where I can run a whole bunch of virtual machines. I'm going to open up a Windows 7 machine that I use for testing. So I'm going to run a virtual machine, a Windows 7 virtual machine on top of my Mac. Good old Windows 7. So that's my Mac. I don't care what the IP address is on the Mac. So here's a Windows 7 machine. I'm going to go and download a version of teeny.exe somewhere. This does not exist anymore. I'm going to go to a website at 34.74.110.173. I'm going to download a Fortnite.zip file. I'm going to save it to my desktop. Now you remembered I had to log into this Windows 7 machine. Now what I'm going to do, of course, I'm going to unzip the Fortnite.zip file. And I'm going to close all the tabs. I'm going to unzip, open up Fortnite.zip, extract all. Now I've done that, so I'm going to double click on Fortnite.exe, which is really teeny.exe. Notice it's 3 kilobytes. So now I'm going to get the IP address of the Windows machine. Now here's the IP address of the Windows machine, 192.168.1.205. That is 192.168.1.205. Double click on Fortnite.exe, let it run. That's it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go netcat 192.168.1.205, 7777, hit the enter key once, nope, hit the enter key again, bing, hello. Now I get the cmd.exe, and now on my Mac I've just got into a Windows 7 machine here, I'm going to run calc.exe, bang. Now I'm just going to spread a silly message. Really? Info for info any run works as great as a sandbox? Nice. Okay. Good call. And now I'm actually going to spit a message out, echo hide into a file called dummy.txt, and look at the Windows machine. Got dummy.txt on the desktop. Yeah. So this is a backdoor. A backdoor is pretty dangerous because it it just bypasses wall security mechanisms. It just opens up a back. Look, if you have a house or an apartment, if you have a back door, you just basically just open it up, and you know what happens when you open up a back door in a house or an apartment. Any critter comes in. Doesn't matter if it's a cockroach, a mosquito, some stray cat, some stray dog, a deer. It doesn't matter. Everything's gonna come in. Doesn't matter if it's an animal, a cop, a criminal, a good person. It doesn't matter. Anything comes in. And you may be wondering, is this the same idea of a backdoor that law enforcement wants to have installed on all tech devices, including phones? And the answer is, you got it. Yep. So this is what law enforcement FBI wants on phones, all devices, so to monitor people, to quote unquote catch the bad guys. It's the same idea. Same exact idea I just illustrated, but now you know how deadly it is. Doesn't matter, it is the same people, the law enforcement to have backdoor access, it doesn't, it also means that everyone else has access to you, including you and me. Doesn't matter if it's good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. Backdoor, anyone can have access. But, unfortunately, people are too dumb to realize, that, some things like you've been fighting for 30 years, how many times do we have to tell you this? Okay, so now you have learned about backdoors, you've learned about virus total. We'll see another example, and something that may come in pretty valuable for each and every one of you here. Let's do another malware example. That's in terms of slides. I think in terms of slides, I think I am pretty much set. Another example I want to show is perhaps another backdoor, but something that's probably a lot more relevant today is what happens if it's a mobile app. What happens if it's an Android app? Now, there's a reason why Android, for years, was notorious for malware. The thing is that on Android, there's not just Google Play Store, but there's so many different, there's so many app stores that you can download software from. And the other thing is, unlike Apple, um, Google allows anyone in the world to go build application, write applications, and install application on phones. So a good example I'm going to show you is this sample here. Now, I like to collect Android malware, and I have a bone to pick with Android, by the way. And I have the sample.apk here. Now, an APK is like APK is the executable for Androids, Google phones. It's like .exe is the executable for Windows machines. Okay, so this sample.apk file, I'm going to actually create another terminal tab here. Oh no. Really? I hate when this happens, when my terminal goes in. Alright. I don't need teeny anymore. Okay. This is a 916 kilobyte app. Okay. Now I'm going to go to virustotal.com. And I am going to do an analysis of the sample.apk that I just downloaded from my Kali server here. Oh yes, before I do that, what's the maximum file size now? 650. Maximum file size is 650 megabyte file that you can upload to VirusTotal. One very important thing to let you all know, when you're using VirusTotal, it also goes for if you're ever using like things like Claude or ChatGPT, never ever ever upload a file that contains personal or sensitive information. Whatever you upload is generally going to be made public. I just want to give you a warning. When you are uploading a sample, make sure the sample doesn't have like data that you care about, like confidentiality information, like if you're working at a legal law firm or something. It says it right here, don't submit any personal information. We are not responsible for the content of your submission. And yes, again, the sample can be made, it will be made available to the community. I'm going to go upload on my desktop, get a sample.apk, and oh shit, this is a 38 out of a 67. 38 out of 67 security vendors flagged this file as malicious. Oh boy, what is this threat label? Trojan export. Okay. And notice it has this icon that says Android APK here. Okay, they go in reverse executable by taking the sensitive information. Now, before we actually look deeper, I want to go back here. Yeah, drag ghetto, yeah. Virus Total is wonderful. So long, it's gotten better as of age. Oh my god, really? So wait a minute, 30 out of 67 security vendors flagged this as malicious, but take a look at who didn't actually. This is embarrassing. Malwarebytes, McAfee, Microsoft didn't detect this? Wow, of all companies. That is sad. That is sad. Microsoft CrowdStrike Bitdefender didn't detect this as malware. Really? That is so sad. This is a very well-known malware sample too. And hence, this is one of many reasons why I do not use antivirus anymore. I mean, it's just so inconsistent. Like, if you want to write your own, like, this is how like antivirus works. Anyone can write an antivirus. It's just creating a dictionary of checksums and then just check. It's just a signature. It's just a big file of signatures that you just check. Wow, Microsoft did not detect this as malware. That is so weak. That is so sad. Anyway, now I'm not going to click on details yet. One of the things for the final lab of this course is, the final lab for this class is to analyze a live Android malware. I'm going to give you another APK file for you to look at. Now, to analyze and reverse engineer a malicious Android app or any Android app, the tool, yeah, it's like really cyber. Yeah, it's like that's not funny. That's not cool that Microsoft did not detect this. They detect other stuff, but not this one. The tool that you really want to use to analyze malware is APK tool. APK tool is platform independent and also Java based. APK tool. APK tool is a tool for reverse engineering Android APK files. Alright, and how you use it is not hard at all. Actually, I'm on my desktop right now. So if you have homebrew, you do brew install. First thing that you want to install is Java. So brew install OpenJDK. I already installed Java. On here you can check, just run Java. But do I have APK tool? I do not. Command not found. Brew install APK tool. And that's it. APK tool. APK tool, how it works. Alright, it's pretty simple. For reverse engineering Android APK file, is APK tool space D and then just the name of your APK file. D is for disassemble or decode. Alright, and it's just going to break down the entire application. So back in the days when I had the ability to, you can download like Instagram.apk, APK decode, like that disassemble the whole thing or decompile the whole thing. They are different terms, by the way. Write your like put in like your lace or malicious code in there, package it back up, and then you get like a lace version or malicious version of Instagram. Those were fun times. So I have sample.apk here. So what I'm going to run is apk tool d sample.apk. Watch what happens. Okay, decoding file resources, decoding values. So this is how you would generally do Android app analysis, Android malware analysis. You're going to see a folder of all the code, everything like decompiled. There are two different terms. I want to get them right now. Disassembly translates machine code into assembly code. Decompilation is translate binary code back to high-level resource code, making it readable and easier to understand. Really, what APK tool does is disassembly, not decompilation. Disassembly. Okay? So now, if you go to the sample folder that is the output of APK tool, you'll see a bunch of files. Android manifest. You see a original. You see RES for resources, Smiley, and unknown. What I'm going to talk today is the XML file, the RES, and Smiley. The first file you want to take a look at, go to sample, is the Android manifest file. The Android manifest file is the entry point for any app. More Android manifest.xml. Now, why is this file important? First of all, this is a file that actually lists out all of the app's file permissions. It also will actually list out like things like what is the starting class. Holy shit, this app has all these permissions. SMS, read SMS, write to a stored Anyone, if you ever download an app from the Google Play Store and you know how it says, hopefully you read all the permissions of the app. Well, this is where it gets all the permission from the Android manifest file. You can also see the entry classes that are here. What is Mary.org.Mary.core? I don't know. So Android manifests very digestible with your own human eyes. The next thing that you should take a look at is the RES, resources of the app. This includes things like the pictures of the app. If you go to values, these are like all the strings that are in the app. If you go to strings.xml under values, oh, they got nothing here. That's not fun. If you go to res, got a drawable. This is where you can see like the icons and pictures of the app. Just to warn you that for a lot of big, like modern apps, there could be a ton of files. Tons and tons and tons of files and drawables. Just pick one folder and just gloss at the pictures. Sometimes the pictures are really glaring as hell. And now, the one last folder that you want to take a look at is Smiley. So what Smiley is, let's go to this export. Smiley file, think of it as almost like assembly language. It's very much like assembly language, but Java based. Okay, so it's generally human readable. Okay, generally it's human readable. Think of it as, again, it's assembly, but it's Java. Because this app was not, Java, Android apps that were for years written in Java. Now, let's see what we just looked at doesn't match some of the details here. Basic properties, the history of the app, export.apk. Ooh, we just saw MemoryCore, we did see that. All the permissions of the app. Device admin, that got a yellow flag. These are not good. We saw that. All the activities, services, SMS sent. And one thing is, if you do a grep, now there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of .smiley files in the Smiley folder. You may want to write your own static analysis tool or use grep to look for like IP addresses and URLs. Take a look at, also you'll find, if you do a grep, you will find these two URLs. Huh. Interesting. So, by the way, what is export? I think we can find more details if you go to behavior or community. Here it is. Malicious software. This is an example of, here it is, export. It's an Android Trojan that steals banking info and encrypts devices from around 2016. So this was one of them. One of the other things that you can also do is, if you go to details, let me do a search for the SHA-256 hash. So export is steals banking information and encrypt devices. If I do a search for the hash, see if I get anything. Yep, it's export. Export. Oh, here it is. Phishes credit card, bank accounts, and encrypts devices for ransom. Cool. There you go. Yeah. So, malware, we've done virus, worm, backdoor, Trojan, even virus total today. Hope that gave you a very good introduction to malware. So yeah, fun times. Like shit, I can't believe I'm over by 5 minutes. Yeah. If you ever want samples of malware, GitHub has a lot. If you want to do more malware analysis training, especially for Windows, my friend Malware Unicorn, Amanda Rousseau, she actually offers a course on reverse engineering malware. Go to malwareunicorn.org. Oh, go to workshops. This is the one to start, Reverse Engineering 101. Look at that. Disassembler, which we are using. We're using the APK tool. Why reverse engineer? Look at that. Analysis flow for malware analysis. Baseline environment, triage, determine a starting point. Hey, static and dynamic analysis right there. Manual debugging. She also has an environment set up. More about x86, but here we go. Look at this, malware classes. Virus, code that propagates across system with user intervention. A worm, code that self-propagates without using user intervention. Trojan is malware that disguises legitimate software. Backdoor. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, more next week, folks. Take care. Good times. Good times. Oh boy, hold on. I'm not stopping the stream. Hey, Cyber Nerd Dante. Boy, you reached, what course was this? Cyber Nerd Dante. What course was this? And that's Brad's site. The answer is yes. You didn't take this course before, did you, Cyber Nerd Dante? Wow. Okay, so you did it during a full stack boot course. Hey, um, I know I'm supposed to stop the stream here, just for you, man. Oh, you haven't taken my course. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do you a favor. It's funny because have I ever used malware-trafficanalysis.net for samples? And the answer is absolutely. I just want to give you a heads up. Well, you're not gonna. So you watch this stream. So I assume people are like kind of leaving and filing out right now. I'm just gonna here. I'm just gonna give you all a sneak preview for next week. I think people are leaving right now, but yeah, here we go. I'm gonna send you this. So hold on, hold on, man. I'm gonna paste it for you. Here. So we're gonna play this game next week. No, it's funny because no, it didn't flow. No, it didn't even throw off the flow at all. No, actually, we're done with the stream. We have to stop at 5:45. No, we have to we stop at 5:45. But the funniest thing is what you kind of found me out because actually that evidence.pcap file is how I start my my in-person class on Tuesday with. And this sample is from, sure as hell, from malware-traffic-analysis.net. Small world. So I was like, oh, yeah, small world. This is one of my favorite samples of all time for very good reasons. Because I remembered I was working that night, and you know, back in the days we were monitoring Twitter. Like that's how how we got all our news back in the ye good old days was like Twitter. Now, like no one goes on there. It's like a cesspool. And I remember my feed was like, holy shit, this sample looks really, really intriguing. In 2017, and little did I know, like even up to this day, I would still be using this sample from malware-traffic-analysis.net. I haven't gone on there recently much. I don't usually do this much of this work anymore. So yeah, no, thank you, Cyber Nerd Dante. It's yeah, me too. I mean, I still do a little bit of it. I mean, I don't do it as heavy as I used to do, but yeah, you bring back some good memories. Yeah, of course. The answer is malware.traffic.analysis.net. Yeah, of course. That's where that PCAP is from. You can play with it. That's what we're gonna do on the Tuesday class in person. So, thanks for joining. All right, take care, everyone. I'm gonna stop.